Welcome to the Beltway Broadcast, the premier podcast for the workplace learning and talent development professionals of the Association for Talent Development's Metro DC chapter. We've got some great resources in store for you today.
Hello, fellow ATDers. I'm Stephanie Hubka, and I am the managing partner of Protos Learning, as well as a chapter past president and a member of the pod squad here at the Metro DC chapter of ATD.
Hi, everyone. I'm Christina Eanes, owner of Eanes Training, and much like Stephanie, I'm also a former past president, as well as a member here at the pod squad for the last 3 years.
I know it. We've had a good time on this show. And we also have our longtime producer, Halyna Hodges, with us as well. And for this week's episode, we have a really special treat for all of you. We have today's episode sponsored by our friends at Kirkpatrick Partners. And for this episode, we are interviewing Vanessa Alzate. Welcome, Vanessa.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Really, I feel like I should say welcome back because we've had the privilege of chatting with you on a very different topic a while back. Before we get into history and before we look to the future, perhaps I should say, we would love it if you would reintroduce yourself to all of our listeners and viewers.
Of course. So Vanessa Alzate, I am a native of New Jersey, living here for about another less than 30 days. And then we are making a move to Florida. So I'll be a sunshine gal very soon. Lots of things under wraps over here. So I am the founder and CEO of Anchored Training, which is who I was here for a year ago, talking all about TikTok and how we can leverage the learnings there for learning and development. But I am now also the owner and CEO of Kirkpatrick Partners, where we are the stewards of the Kirkpatrick Model, and we support organizations in helping them prove the value of their initiatives and their contribution to the initiative.
All of that's really exciting, from the move to Florida to the new role. And that's probably a good place for us to start. So as you mentioned, the last time we met, we learned a ton from you about TikTok style training. I think it was the first time a lot of us had really considered that. It was a great conversation, but clearly an awful lot has changed for you in the last year. I'd love it if you would tell us a little bit about what that journey has looked like as you found yourself in this new role as the CEO and president of Kirkpatrick Partners.
Yeah. So I woke up one day and decided I'm going to buy a business today, much like my friend Elle Woods. No, I actually, I practice what I preach. I do a lot of learning on YouTube and social media. And so I started following a woman, Cody Sanchez, and she talks all about buying businesses. And I said, oh, well, why don't we buy, my husband has his plumbing license and his HVAC license says, oh, why don't we buy a plumbing company? We both know that field is essentially dying. And we are going to be in a situation, you have those skills. And I always kept my eye out for companies that were for sale in the learning space, education space, HR space. And I found one in March of last year. It was an HR executive staffing firm. And I said, that's an interesting situation. If I happen to staff someone in HR, maybe they'll trust and like and want to, bring in Anchored Trading to support their learning initiatives. It sounded like a really interesting business model. And luckily that offer fell through, although that company never sold. And because about a couple weeks, maybe even days after I put in that offer, I saw that Kirkpatrick Partners was for sale. And it was a moment at 11 o'clock at night. I freaked out when I saw that it was Kirkpatrick Partners. And at first I'm like, is it not Kirkpatrick Partners? And then I scroll and I'm reading the confidential memo, and it was. And it's 11:30. Everyone's sleeping. I'm the only one awake. And so I'm looking at my Slack. I'm like, okay, who on my team is on the West Coast where it's like an appropriate time for me to freak out? And they would understand. I wake up my husband. I'm like, oh my goodness. And he was like, okay. He didn't really get it, but it's funny because he actually is in his MBA program. And then when he finally came to, he was like, oh, I just wrote a paper and talked about the Kirkpatrick model. And I was like, that's what I can own.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I went
That's
so I went on the journey of going down the acquisition route. And really after some reflection, really just trying to understand why do I want to do this? Why do I want to bring more businesses under my belt? And really when I sit back and think of things, it started off as just another acquisition. But then I also saw a need in our industry where we keep buying things to solve problems, but no one's talking to each other, right? Mm-hmm. Like I buy from this vendor for this and I buy from that vendor for that. And it just feels like a bunch of patchwork. And what if there was a place I could go where it didn't feel so much like patchwork and it was a holistic experience? And so that's what I'm starting to build with what we're calling our model learning network.
Wow.
Ooh,
yeah.
That sounds nice.
Yeah.
So as the new president, CEO, we're here to talk about the future of Kirkpatrick. Where would you like to start?
Oh, how do I take a 70-year-old model and make it relevant again? That is,
that's a good point.
This is my thesis. I do a lot of work in general and in my life as I look at just a lot of roles that I've had and organizations I work with, projects I've taken on, volunteer organizations I work with. It's a lot of work that I do, right? It's how do I take something that's been so beloved for so many years and bring it to today? So I volunteer for an organization where our members that I'm responsible for are 18 to 102. And how do I take something that someone that's 102 loves so dearly and make it relevant to Gen Z, and really Gen Alpha in all reality. Yeah. And there's ways to do that and honor the past. And just because it might be old, quote unquote, does not mean it's broken. It just needs to get a little facelift, if you will. Like we all might need at some point, right? So that's why I got so excited about it too, because for me, it's my thesis that I can make anything older relevant again. And not that it was never not relevant, but I think there's a lot of opportunity with AI and with just this need in our organization and this true want to be business partners. And that starts at evaluation, right? If you're able to evaluate and show the contribution that you're making, contribution that your part in this holistic initiative is taking, that is where the future is for us as an industry. And we haven't been able to do that yet because I don't think the need has been that dire, truly. But with AI and the ability to create content just so rapidly, it's going to leave us so much opportunity to now say, okay, well, I don't have to spend so much time in the content creation of it, right? There's there's this tool I can use to start the content creation, and that's like 25% of the spend or the time that I had. Now, what do I do with this 25%? Well, now I'm going to go build relationships and go be a partner of the business. And that's where the shift can actually be. So that's where I'm really excited for the future of Kirkpatrick. And one of the things I was so humbled by was the community, just people like wrapping their arms around me and welcoming me into it. I don't have the last name Kirkpatrick. My husband definitely would not love that if I took a different last name. Maybe Kirkpatrick he'd be okay with, but but people really wrapped their arms around me and said, come, welcome. They welcomed me into this community. And I was able to walk alongside them, and I want to give them a space to be able to learn from each other, because that's what they're craving. They're craving a place to talk, learn, and say, okay, this works for me. This is how I'm doing it. Now what's working for you? So I can, borrow some of that for my organization.
I think you're absolutely right about the need for community. And we're seeing so much of that pop up in all facets of talent development. There's just this real desire to network, to problem solve and brainstorm with others.
Mm-hmm.
So thinking about what community might look like as far as the work you're doing is concerned, as far as the model is concerned, what can we expect as far as some of those ideas are concerned? What do you envision as far as what a community might look like and feel like for those of us who know and use the model so well in our work?
Yeah. So I think that just what you said right there, right? So those of us that know and use the model so well, that's where I'm actually seeing a lot of challenges in our organization because they're not leveraging the model because they think they might know the model as it was originally written back in like the 50s, right? However, there's been updates to it. There's been enhancements. And how are we leveraging new tools and technology in order to adapt that? So that's always something that's interesting for me, right? So having that conversation with folks. But also we are really, we want to bring more of the community together, whether it's online or in person. So we've completely revamped our certification programs to have that community component and to have that cohort-based experience, because I truly believe in social learning and that we learn best from others.
Yeah.
So I wanted to bring that to the model and to bring that to Kirkpatrick. And we're having our very first summit in next week, actually. I'll be there a week from today. And so that is going to be, 3 days of learning and growing. And what I love is that our last day there is a whole cohort-based learning experience where people are going to take everything they learned the first 2 days and actually apply it. Right. And we're going to work together on creating evaluation plans, and you're going to leave with your own evaluation plan for a program or initiative that you're working on. And there might be some prizes. I'm not, there might be a little challenge situation because I love competition.
Absolutely.
And those are the things that we're looking towards to do because, we want to bring more of those experiences where people can learn and grow together and continue to enhance that. And in terms of the future, it's a lot more for Kirkpatrick of consulting and walking alongside of y'all. I always say to folks, like, I know what to do in the gym. I know it intellectually. I've learned it. I know how to portion control. I am never not more committed or on my game when I have someone truly there walking alongside of me. I will slip back into my comfort zone and do things the way that we've always been done, do things that don't cause friction or resistance to the people around me because I'm just so tired. And so if I can... So we're looking to provide more of those supports, like an accountability coach and things like that. So I'm excited for those things too, because that also gives us a lot of information to be able to better improve what we're doing and provide to folks, like, what is it that you truly need and how better for us to do more for you than us walking alongside of you and seeing what it is that you need.
I would imagine
I love that.
It's a great opportunity to share some of those wins as well, especially with the model where intellectually you know what you're supposed to do, you know what you're working toward, but to hear the stories that others experience as they achieve success at each of the 4 levels. That's where I think a lot of the magic can be unlocked for people.
Yeah.
And where they can start to understand that perhaps how they define success in one space might look very different and still be success, and can really inspire them to embrace a new challenge going from 2 to 3 or 3 to 4, for example.
Absolutely. And it's so cool to see and to meet folks, especially going through the summit and pulling in speakers and things like that. We've got the chief of staff at NASA, and I met with her and she was like, this model has changed my career. She's like, I'm not evaluating right now, but I'm applying everything that I've learned through our programs to the work that I'm doing now. Or I met at a conference earlier this month, the former chief evaluation officer for the Department of State. And he walked through how, the model gave him his whole career, and he's been able to evaluate the intangibles. And, he's talking me through how he's been able to do it. And these are all the things that you hear, well, it can't be done. It's never been done. It can be done. We just need to be able to amplify those stories so you can see how it can be done.
Yeah.
Nice. I'm curious. So in addition to what we've talked about, you mentioned Gen Z and Gen Alpha. What are some additional things that you're thinking, maybe some specific things that you know of now for ways that you're going to make the model, we'll call it even more evergreen than it is now with those generations?
Yeah, absolutely. So looking at Gen Z and Gen Alpha, for me, it's about having education at their fingertips, right? This is the YouTube generation. This is the generation that when they have a question, they're going straight to the source and they're finding the answer. I mean, my daughter I have a 6 and a 7-year-old, and I'll hear her in her playroom, "Hey Siri," and then she's asking Siri a question, right? This is what she's used to, right? The best is when she asks Siri what we should have for dinner. Oh, sorry, my Siri's going off right now. Just kidding. Sorry, Siri.
Real-time application.
Yeah, really. I do ask her to flip heads or tails sometimes. That's fun. But yeah, like this is what they're used to. And then they're going into work environments in which they don't have that. Oh, well, if you want to find the answer, you've got to go find it in this 45-minute e-learning module. Excuse me? Like that is torture for me. And for all of us, right? We just want the information at our fingertips. If we have a question, we're going out and we are Googling the answer now. And so that's what we want to start to build in more for Kirkpatrick for them, and also understanding, providing more thought leadership and research so they can see like the reasons that these principles are so good is because look at all of this data that's unchanging. Right here, where the tweaks are happening because of how the world is changing. But in the matter of fact, these are the principles and they stay, and this is how you can apply it to your work. And so we're going to have a little bit of fun with it too. We are creating some TikTok style videos for our community because I said, listen, if I can do anything, it's create some TikTok videos. Maybe we'll have Don come in on one of them. I don't know, a picture of him or something. But those are just reinforcement tools, right, of what it is that they're learning in the programs. And they don't have to be cheesy. They don't have to be like, dancing and all of that. They just have to be valuable, entertaining, educational content. That's what people want.
Yeah,
That's access at their fingertips.
I think that's all any of us want.
Truly.
Most of the time. It's exciting to hear about that. So I have 2 kind of final questions that I would ask of you. One is, where should we be going to learn more? Because you're going to have an awful lot to share with us as you continue to get started. I know the year has gone quickly for you, but there's even more to come. And maybe the more important question is, for those of us who are also really energized by what you've shared today, how can we get involved? Where are you looking for support? And, what does it look like for us to play a role in your success?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say our website is still undergoing construction. So LinkedIn is the best place to get the most up-to-date information at the moment. That'll have, we have our own podcast. So we've got our podcast clips on there. So we keep in touch with what we're talking about there. And then as the summit happens, we'll live stream some stuff. So we're very excited about that. So LinkedIn is where we're most active. And then I would say, sharing in the future, being a part of our future is really sharing more of your stories, sharing what are your questions, where are you struggling, right? Where are you saying like, this model stinks, right? I can't get it to work. Cause that's what I need to know. I can't fix something if you don't tell me it's broken. Right. And that's what I want to, help talk through, because sometimes, I'll hear some of those things and, we talk through it and it's just a reframing of, the situation. And sometimes it does take an outside party to help you reframe. And then we're doing a lot of stuff in your area We are having another in-person program in September, the 4th and the 5th. And then we are bringing back the summit. Wait, this will launch after the summit. So we're going to bring back the summit in September of 2025 to the Dulles, Virginia area. So we love the Metro DC. I love the Metro DC area. It's one of my top. I have 3 favorite cities: Philly, Miami, and DC. And those are my 3. So
there we go.
Good choices too. Good choices.
I'm an East. I can't tell. I'm an East Coast girl.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that at all. We're going to be very excited to welcome some of these events to our backyard as the months go on. This sounds exciting.
Oh, yeah. No, we're just super excited at Kirkpatrick to be able to support the Metro DC chapter as well. So whatever we can do for y'all too.
All right. It's that time in every episode where we ask each guest 3 rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
I'm a little nervous, but yes, I'm ready.
Well, we'll see, if your answers are similar to what
Because I want to answer fast. But we'll see.
All good. All good.
It's the competition.
That's it. Okay. So what is one book everyone must read and why?
Oh, Built to Sell. No matter whatever you do, it is so applicable to all of us. Built to Sell.
Nice.
Good choice.
Yep. I'm adding to my wish list. My Amazon wish list. Okay. So.
Oh wait, I should have said the Kirkpatrick book.
Oh,
I mean, that's
saying.
an assumption. That
goes without saying.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's an assumption. We got that. There you go. Okay. So what is one tool that you can't live without, and define that however you'd like?
Oh yeah. I would say the tool that I cannot live without is Slack. It has been the way that we communicate. We huddle through it. I'm able to organize myself. We're able to be very agile and adjust quickly, and also use it semi-project management-y with like canvases, and I can do check-ins with my team and community. There's a lot of community features. I can even do performance evaluations through it. So Slack has been my best friend lately.
Wow.
Ooh, nice. I didn't know it had that much versatility.
I didn't either.
Yeah.
Something new every
Gotta
day.
check those add-ons.
Yes.
Yep. I love
absolutely.
it. Okay. What is the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
The best piece of advice that I've ever been given was there's only one you, and people want to hear from you. I think very often we think everything's been said, everything's been done. Who wants to hear from me? I get a lot of imposter syndrome. I just spoke at the ATD conference, and I shared it on LinkedIn. I'm like, who wants to hear from me? And that's, I just have to keep reminding myself that I have my voice, I have my perspective, and everyone vibes with people differently. And sometimes they need to hear it from me and my voice and my perspective for it to finally click for them. So if I can help move one person in that room to try something a little bit different, then I've done what I set out to do that day.
Great advice.
It really is. I once had someone share similar advice with me, and to be honest, I never forgot it. So I'm glad you shared that with all of us today. You never know who needed to hear that exact statement. So thank you for that. And really, Vanessa, thank you so much for joining us. We loved our first conversation with you a year ago. I think we love this one just as much. We're so excited for you and for the future of all of the great work that you are going to do with Kirkpatrick Partners. And I also want to say a huge thank you to Kirkpatrick Partners for sponsoring today's episode. We are really appreciative.
Yes.
Well, thank you all for having me, and we love to keep in touch in the future.
Absolutely. And of course, a big thank you to all of you in our community for listening and viewing today as well. And before you go, we have a message from our producer, Halyna Hodges.
Do you need consultant services? The Metro DC chapter of ATD has many talented members. Go to dcatd.org and check out our consultants directory under the resources menu option.
Check out dcatd.org for upcoming chapter events, learning programs, member benefits, and so much more.